Hey everybody, it's Shaman Sister Sin, and you're listening to the Meditations and More podcast brought to you by the Little Shaman Healing. That's me, the Little Shaman. Today I want to talk to you about if you break the no contact rule with a narcissist. It happens. Nobody's perfect, and we are talking about a seriously powerful pattern to break out of here. Some people have been in this kind of situation their entire lives, with reinforced trauma bonding patterns that go back to childhood. So breaking away from that isn't easy to do at all. Many people slip up and fall back, so it's important to remember not to beat yourself up over it. Just reestablish your boundaries, put the no contact rule back in place, and try again. Breaking no contact doesn't mean all the work you've done on yourself has been ruined either. It means you're trying to break out of a pattern that you may have had your entire life, one that your body and mind are basically addicted to and dependent on. Making a mistake is not the end of the world. However, at the same time, you want to be careful not to cut yourself too much slack. The voice of addiction is very sneaky, it's very powerful. It can rationalize anything, and it is very, very persuasive. It's important to remember that even a little bit of poison is still poison. You don't get cancer from one cigarette. You don't get cancer from smoking one single cigarette after you've quit. You get cancer from continuing to smoke. It's the same principle here. One slip-up is not the end of everything, but a slip-up that turns into a pattern may be. A slip-up is a slip-up. It's not more than that, but it's certainly not less either. Take it for what it is and work on doing better next time, that's all. So how do you do that? Well, most of the time, people break the no contact rule when they're feeling vulnerable. This can be when you yourself are especially lonely or sad, or it can be when the narcissist has communicated that they are especially lonely or sad. This happens partly because of our own intrinsic humanity and partly because of the trauma bond and arousal jag dynamics that are part of the relationship with a narcissist or another abuser. People who have been traumatized and abused come to depend on the good feelings that come after abuse when the abuser is sorry and apologetic and everything feels good again. They are used to, and we could even say addicted to, the emotional and chemical lift that results from the abuse being stopped. So it's natural that when people in this situation feel vulnerable or bad, they're going to want to feel better the way they know how. Going no contact with an abuser is like going up on that emotional roller coaster into the bad feelings and never coming back down again into the good feelings. Try not to let it get to you. It's temporary. Your mind and body found ways to cope when you were being abused, and they will find ways to cope now that the abuse has stopped. You just have to let it work itself out. Be patient and hold on to your self-respect. That's more important than temporarily feeling better. People also break no contact because they feel guilty. They realize this is a disordered, miserable person, and they feel bad for them. There's nothing wrong with that. It's normal. But it's also dangerous. You can still feel pity for this person, but don't do it at your own expense. Part of self-care is not engaging in situations where you're being hurt, no matter what the reason is. It's entirely possible to pity a person while at the same time realizing there's nothing you can do to help them. This is how the narcissist should be approached. Yes, they are a victim. Yes, it's a terrible shame. No, there's nothing you or anyone else can do. It's extremely important to remember this because it's nothing but the truth. Regardless of how you feel, regardless of what they say, it is not possible to help these people. It's not possible to help anybody who doesn't understand that there's a problem, whether they're narcissistic or not. Sometimes we find that people break no contact out of fear. They might go into a panic when they realize the relationship might really be over this time. They might experience fear that the narcissist doesn't care about them anymore, or that the narcissist will find a new person to care about. This goes for any type of relationship, by the way, not just romantic ones. People might worry excessively about what the narcissist is doing or who the narcissist is talking to, and they might contact them to find out. It's important to be very, very honest about your feelings here because this kind of thing is actually an attempt to control the narcissist, which is just as wrong as them trying to control you. We cannot control other people. Not only is it not healthy, it isn't even really possible. People are going to do what they want to do, and that's the end of it. We only stress ourselves out worrying about things we can't control, and other people are things we can't control. Sometimes people do things we don't like or that are hurtful. All we can do is get out of the situation, learn from it, and move on. No one can change or control another person, and no one has the right to try. You do have the right to say that if someone's going to act a certain way or do certain things, you will not be around them because you don't want it in your life. But it's up to them if they want to do anything about that or not. If they don't, then you should move on. There are many relationships where there is a fundamental problem, such as cheating. Even in non-narcissistic relationships, this kind of thing happens all the time. One spouse cheats continuously, and of course the other one doesn't like it. It's hurtful. It's disrespectful. But instead of ending the relationship with this cheating person, who obviously cannot be faithful for whatever reason or doesn't want to, the hurt spouse argues and fights and insists that the cheater change. The faithful spouse attempts to control the cheating spouse movements and daily life in an effort to prevent them from cheating. This might be understandable from an emotional standpoint, but it's not healthy at all. It's bad for any children involved, and it hurts everybody. Too many people have a problem with the way someone is, but instead of ending the association, they stay and constantly complain that the person is not who or what they want them to be, or they try to control the person and force them to change. This is different than having boundaries. Boundaries are when you say, I'm not going to put up with this, and if you do it, the relationship is over. That's not trying to control somebody. They can do whatever they want, and if they don't respect your boundaries, then they won't be around you anymore. You're not trying to prevent them from doing something. You are preventing it from being in your life. That's not the same thing. Many things can be worked out, of course, and many marriages have survived things like infidelity and become stronger. But if there is a pattern of behavior or interaction that you are unhappy with or that is hurtful and abusive, staying in the relationship and insisting the other person change is not healthy or productive. It almost never works. You can either accept the situation as it is, or you can't, because, and this might not be easy to hear, but people don't have to change. They don't have to change for their spouse or their kids or their mom or their dad or anybody else, and most of them won't. They will be as awful and sneaky and wrong and abusive as they want to be, but you don't have to put up with it. That's what no contact is about, not putting up with it. It's your way of standing up and saying, I'm not putting up with this anymore. No contact is not finite. In other words, it has no end. It's the stopping of your association with this person because they have demonstrated that they're not someone whose behavior you can tolerate. It can be hard to keep no contact because you cared for this person and because of the addictive, dependent nature of abusive relationships. If you feel the urge to contact a narcissist, it might help if you write down your feelings. Maybe you can write a letter to them, but don't give it to them. Maybe you could make a list reminding yourself of all the ways that they've hurt you. This both helps you process and get those traumas out of you, and it gives you a good reminder of why you're staying away from them. Some people say that they listen to videos like this one to remind themselves why they shouldn't contact this person. There are things you can do to exercise the feeling without giving in. You can also distract yourself in various ways. You could go for a run, you could walk your dog, play video games, see what's on TV if you have a TV, or hang out with somebody. The important thing is to acknowledge your feelings for what they are and let them work themselves out without involving the narcissist. Because you cannot work on your own feelings with someone around who is unable to understand that you even have feelings. The only thing that will happen is what always happens. Your feelings will be ignored and you're going to be abused. No contact is about breaking that pattern, so hang in there. It does get easier. You might notice that I didn't mention how the narcissist reacts when you break the no contact rule. That's because, quite frankly, I don't think it matters. Focusing on the narcissist is not what's important here. They will react how they always react to being given attention. There's no new information there. What's important is how you feel and how you react to it. They may step up their efforts to get your attention once you reinstate the no contact rule, but that's not really news either. If you've been dealing with a narcissist, you already know they're going to do that. It's more important to figure out your feelings. Let the narcissist worry about their own feelings for once. Instead of trying to find evidence that this person actually does care about you, try to focus on why you accepted this abusive behavior in your life in the first place. That is what's going to help you heal. I hope this clears a few things up for you. As always, I look forward to your comments, questions, and suggestions, so please keep those coming. I take appointments online and over the phone Monday through Friday. So if you're interested in speaking with me, you can visit littleshaman.org and click the Book an Appointment tab to go ahead and do that. You've been listening to the Meditations and More podcast brought to you by littleshaman.org. That's me, Little Shaman. May the Great Spirit bless you and have a wonderful day.